Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. I'm actually recording this on the 23rd. Earlier today, we went up to the Far West Historical Society and store, which is kind of like a deseret book. It has souvenirs and books and merchandise. Jenica was buying me something for Christmas, so she went inside. I stayed out in the car, so I don't know what it is. And then afterwards, we decided to stop at the temple site. And to our pleasant surprise, somebody before us had set up this nativity scene in front of the monoliths made of sticks and leaves and acorns. And so, I don't know, it just made my day. I loved it. But I want to talk about Christmas in this video because you know that we're all about watching for signs of the times. And there's something happening this Christmas that could be a sign of the times. It could be related to the second coming as far as temperature is concerned. And this is a really interesting thing to consider. So look at this. This is Fox weather. Warmest Christmas on record possible across a dozen states as over 280 million Americans feel holiday warm up. Now, I did the math, and 280 million is about 80% of the US population. So it's a lot of people that are going to be experiencing this. Okay, later on, it says, when we think of Christmas, we often picture frigid temperatures and snow, even in warmer states that don't typically see much of either. But this year, it truly is beginning to look a lot like spring. Keep that in mind. That's going to come up a little bit later in the video. It's beginning to look a lot like spring. A large ridge of high pressure will settle over the central US, or in other words, where Independence, Missouri is at, the future site of the New Jerusalem, as well as far west and Adam-on-Diamond, causing 280 million Americans to experience above average temperatures throughout Christmas as the warmer weather pattern persists across much of the lower 48. More than 40 cities across 12 states are poised to reach their warmest Christmas on record this Thursday. And included among those is Kansas City and the Kansas City metro area, which includes Independence, Missouri. It also includes Salt Lake City, and as you can see, many other cities. Phoenix, right here, used to live there. Several throughout Texas. So this is really interesting what's going on. Speaking of Salt Lake City, this is from the Salt Lake Tribune. Salt Lake City on pace for warmest December since tracking began in late 1800s. You know what else happened in the late 1800s? The dedication of the Salt Lake Temple. And we're looking forward to that in 2027. So we still have about a year and a half, about 2 years to go. But that's just right around the corner. Salt Lake City is on pace for its warmest December since at least the late 1800s when tracking began, said Monica Traffigan, a meteorologist with the Weather Service's Salt Lake City office. Quote, "We're on track to shatter that record," Traffigan said, adding that average temperatures this December are about 2 degrees higher than the previous record set in 1917 at an average of about 42 degrees. Temperatures have been roughly 20 degrees above average for this time of year, she said. This has caused some confusion for the area's plants and trees. So keep that in mind with this whole concept of it feels like spring right now. This has caused some confusion for the area's plants and trees, according to Rachel Broadbent, a plant, soil, and climate instructor at Utah State University. The pear trees outside the Triad Center in downtown Salt Lake City, for example, have already started to blossom. Okay, that is really, really interesting. We got this. This is AccuWeather. Parts of US may experience warmest Christmas on record, feeling like May. So, why am I interested in this? Well, for a couple reasons. Number one, we know that the second coming, the final appearance, it's not going to be a cold event. We've been talking about this recently, that it's going to be an event associated with fire and heat. So that's one thing. As we're here celebrating the Savior's birth and his first coming, is this potentially a foreshadowing to his second coming and temperature conditions when he comes again? That's one thing. But the second thing is this. Let's go to, this is Elder Bruce R. McConkie in The Millennial Messiah, the second coming of the Son of Man. And there's this really interesting part where he talks about temperature and the earth. And okay, so it's at a part where he's talking about the rainbow, how the rainbow didn't appear until after the flood. And then he says, seed time and harvest, in the sense of one season following another, exist because the axis of the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees from the upright. This is the reason we have winter and summer, spring and fall. The first reference in the scriptures to seasons as we know them is in connection with the flood of Noah. There is a presumption that prior to the flood, there were no seasons because the axis of the earth was upright. And a similar presumption that when the millennium comes and the earth returns to its original paradisiacal state, once again, the seasons as we know them will cease. And that seed time and harvest will go on concurrently at all times. The whole earth at all times will be a garden as it was in the days of Eden. So we're in this moment right now, and it's probably just a temporary thing, but like I said, it could be a foreshadowing of what's about to happen. We're in this time of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere, that's associated with cold and snow. And this year, it's more like spring. It's not like summer, but it's like spring when things grow, when you plant crops. So I think that's really interesting. Okay, but there's a couple more things. This is USA Today. Easter weather on Christmas. Christmas 2025 will be memorable for tens of millions of Americans because of the record warmth forecast for much of the central United States, where highs could approach 75 degrees as far north as Kansas City, Missouri. Now, this is interesting, this title, Easter weather at Christmas, because here in the U.S. central area of the church, there was something that I saw earlier today, at the time that I'm recording this, 11 hours ago. This is the Far West Missouri Stake Times and Seasons group. Or is it a group or a page? No, it's a page. They posted this video message, new video in the church's area website. And so I went and watched it. And one thing that stuck out to me was this. Okay, so here's welcome to the United States Central Area. Remember him Christmas to Easter. Remember him Christmas to Easter. Now, I'll share this now because they're putting it here on the website. But we recently had a stake conference here in the Independent Stake, and we had Elder Teixeira right here. By the way, he's from Portugal. I got to meet him and tell him that my mom's from Portugal. So that was a good experience. But he brought this idea up when he spoke that we need to treat the time from Christmas to Easter as a special season, that one leads to the other. And because we've been covering it on the channel and you've probably just noticed yourself, the church has really, really been focusing on holidays lately. The first time that it really stuck out to me was April of 2023, because in the April 2023 General Conference, in fact, I should just pull that up right now, there was suddenly this unusual, well, to me, unusual emphasis on Palm Sunday. This was the imagery that they used, was Palm Sunday, which that by itself seems to be a foreshadowing of when Christ comes again. In this sense, he was, by those that believed in him and recognized him. This was a moment where they recognized him as king. It was like in a political sense, the way that he rode into Jerusalem. And so I feel like this is a foreshadowing of the second coming when he is recognized as king of the earth. Well, since that time, there's been more and more talk of holidays, the need to really focus on Easter and make it our most holy, most celebrated holiday. It's the most important one because it celebrates the atonement and the resurrection, right? So let me read this. This season, we begin a journey that does not end on December 25th. We remember his birth. Light of the world is an opportunity to share with family and friends the glad tidings of the gospel this Christmas, then move with purpose toward his resurrection. From Christmas to Easter, we invite you to remember him, not only in our holiday traditions, but in daily discipleship, personal devotion, service, gratitude, and love. Christmas and Easter are connected, and we invite you to intentionally remember him throughout the coming months. Our hope is that this inspires each of us to let his light stay alive in our lives long after the tree is taken down. Because he was born and because he lives, we can live with hope, with purpose, and with joy every day. So, again, in this video, we're talking about these warm temperatures here in the United States. I don't know what it's like throughout the rest of the Northern Hemisphere, but at least here in the United States and centered on the central part of the United States, where Independence, Missouri is at, you have this thing taking place where winter feels like spring. And when the millennium comes, and if Elder Bruce R. McConkie is right about his speculation, he later says that it is speculation about the tilt of the earth becoming upright. But if he's right, then yeah, like this is going to be the new norm. It is going to be a paradisiacal world. I don't know if that includes some places that are still Arctic, or cold, or if there's deserts, but it does seem like just all across the entire earth, it's going to be just nice. And I don't know, I guess what I picture is what it's like in the tropics, or just maybe like Southern California, Florida, ideally without the humidity. So it's just interesting to think about. That's basically all that I have for this. As we're thinking about the millennial earth, let me just point out a couple other quick things, just a couple tangents. I'm still so curious about this quote. This is from President Lorenzo Snow. He was president of the church. This is Millennial Star, August 31st, 1899. He says, "The whole earth is the Lord's. The time will come when it will be translated and be filled with the Spirit and power of God. The atmosphere around it will be the Spirit of the Almighty. We will breathe that Spirit instead of the atmosphere that we now breathe." I think that's so interesting. I guess it makes sense. We've recently talked about the fact that our bodies are going to be changed and we're not going to have blood anymore. And I'm not talking about resurrected people. They won't have blood either. But those of us that are still in mortality, our bodies are going to be changed and we're not going to have blood. It's going to be spirit. And according to President Lorenzo Snow, we're going to be breathing spirit. It's a pretty radical change. It makes me wonder how that's going to affect things like sunsets and what daytime looks like, because it may look different and maybe in a really amazing way. And then let's just finish with this. This is Bruce R. McConkie, Doctrinal New Testament Commentary. He gives 3 things that's going to happen to the earth. Well, sorry, no, 4 things. Number 1, Earth's land masses shall unite. Islands and continents shall become one land. Number 2, every valley shall be exalted and every mountain shall be made low. The rugged terrain of today shall level out into a millennial garden. And I certainly hope that's the case here in Kansas City, because it's a very hilly city, which is fine, but it's also kind of a little bit annoying. I would love it to look more like it did back in Kansas, where I came from before I moved here. Number 3, such an earthquake as has never been known since man's foot was planted on this planet shall attend these changes in the earth's surface and appearance. And fourthly, as recorded elsewhere, the great deep, presumably the Atlantic Ocean, shall return to its place in the north, and the earth shall be like it was in the days before it was divided. I've speculated about this, about the Atlantic Ocean or whatever going to the north, and I've wondered if like maybe the land masses will make a ring around the earth. If it's going to be upright, I don't know how much the arrangement of land masses affects the rotation of the earth, if at all, but it probably wouldn't hurt if it was going to stay upright for the land masses to be like a ring, kind of like when you spin a top. You want those, I don't know how to describe it, but you understand that if you have like the mass in a ring around the thing that's spinning, it's going to help it spin and stay upright. So I wonder if that's what the earth is going to look like. So you'd have the Great Deep or the Atlantic Ocean that would be in the north. You'd have like a big ocean in the north and then a big ocean in the south. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But anyway, again, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Maybe this will make for some opportunities to go outside and enjoy Christmas in a way that you don't normally enjoy it. But have a Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you guys later.